The second priority in which the Scottish Government's got a big part to play, although responsibility first and foremost does lie with the UK Government, is in welcoming refugees, those fleeing Ukraine and seeking sanctuary. We are already in discussions with COSLA, making sure that we are prepared in a practical sense to welcome refugees from Ukraine. We have recent experience through the Syrian resettlement scheme, more recent experience through the Afghan resettlement efforts, but I don't think any of us are yet properly grasping the magnitude of what the war in Ukraine may result in terms of population displacement, and it is really important that we all play our part. I am on record, I'm far from alone in this, in encouraging the UK Government to go much further than it has done so far in enabling people to come to the UK from Ukraine. I think it has made some positive steps in the last 24, 48 hours, but still lags way behind the European Union, and within that, of course, countries like Ireland, who days ago waived visa requirements. So I would appeal again to the UK Government to effectively have a situation where anybody fleeing Ukraine can come to the UK and we deal with the bureaucracy and the paperwork later. That's the humanitarian response that is required, but it's also what is practically necessary, because no single country or small group of countries is going to be able to deal with this alone.
I think that there's a number of different angles that we really need to be dealing with all at once, because there's that very human angle that Bridget's just talked about, and I think that that's something that people are very, very concerned with, and understandably so, and we certainly could do a great deal more there than we are doing at the moment, and I hope that the UK Government will move its position in terms of refugees, because we can do better, and I think we must do better. I think in terms of the here and now with Putin, yeah, his behaviour is obviously reprehensible. He's a dangerous and terrible man who is bringing the worst kind of destruction to the people of Ukraine, and we can all see. That's the thing with modern day communications. We can see with our own eyes.
The question is, what more can be done to deter him? But I will hand up there in the grey sweater.
I was going to say, isn't it ironic that we've got people in need, because of the war, who are having barriers put in front of them to come to this country, yet if they go to France, they can get on a dinghy and come across the channel and get free entry.
And do you think that it should be easier for people to come here, or
for the
harder?
Ukraine?
Yeah.
Most definitely. These people have a genuine reason to want to be in a safer country.
I'm a bit perplexed by what Penny's saying, because that isn't really the reality that people are facing, and people who are fleeing from this terrible war, which we've all seen played out before our eyes, are in the most desperate situation. They shouldn't face any barriers to getting to safety or to coming and being in a place of safety. So of course we absolutely should match what the EU is doing. We should waive all of these restrictions that are in place at the moment. We're giving the oligarchs time to sail up, but at the same time we're closing the doors to people in need, and that's not okay. It's not the way that a civilised country should aspire to deal with people who are fleeing war and terror. And I think that there's a great deal that needs to be done as part of that. And in Scotland we're ready to do that. We're open to refugees, and we welcome them coming.
So you lift any visa restrictions?
We would waive the visa restrictions and support people to come here. We hear from the Home Secretary about people who are seeking to come from a third country, and that she says that is problematic. But of course they would have to come from a third country, because there is no way of getting directly from Ukraine to the UK. All of these barriers, which are incredibly difficult for people who have gone through this most desperate situation to deal with, are ones that we should not be putting in place. And to the gentleman who spoke about people coming across in dinghies, I would just reflect back to him that people would not be fleeing across the English Channel in dinghies unless they too were desperate and in fear.
I think I broadly agree with him in terms of the visa and the situation. I think with refugees, and remember, some of my family members will be in this position, those who are going to be unsafe in neighbouring countries, those who have family links perhaps with the UK, I think should be allowed to come. But I think in terms of the number of people who are going to be fleeing war, the best place to provide support for them is near near the border of Ukraine in Poland, and the Polish people have been incredibly generous. And we can be generous to provide finance and other things in place to support people locally, because not every Ukrainian wants to come to the UK. Quite a lot of them would love to come back to Ukraine once this is hopefully over. So I think we've got to have a calibrated response. Just saying we must throw the borders open to anyone who wants to come isn't going to solve the problem. And by the way, given that we've had 20 years of very large levels of immigration into this country, you will create problems domestically. It will disrupt the fabric of our society, as you know, people have made that point. So I think we've got to make sure that we provide everything we possibly can to people who need it, but that does not necessarily have to be done by bringing people here in huge numbers. There's a way to deal with this locally, and that will be better for the people who we're talking about.
Can I say, I don't think that is the right answer. I think that we do have the capacity to bring more people here. I think that we should be open to that. And I think that what we need to do is to make sure that when they come here, they're able to do things like work, which they would like to do, but are forbidden often from doing so because of restrictions that the UK government put upon them. I think that we need to make sure that we look out to the world and do the right thing and don't rely upon other countries to take up all the slack. It's important that we step up here and we take our place doing the right thing and supporting the people that are fleeing. We cannot possibly leave it to other countries to do all of that.
But it's really the images that we're all watching are getting worse and worse and worse. What are we going to do about that?
They are getting worse and worse, and I'm very, very concerned, especially for sort of like children that are also seeing these images and how traumatic that is. Certainly, you know, when I worked in schools and managing not only disinformation, but actually managing children's perceptions of it and trying to explain these atrocities that are happening to them is actually very difficult. So that's one matter. I think that the sanctions are sort of like kicking in. I do take the point that it's been too slow, and certainly, you know, the UK government is stepping up, absolutely. Where I don't think they're doing such a great job is how to manage refugees that are coming. I certainly do think that we should be putting people first and dealing with the paperwork later.
Are there any... Let me just take us back to the question, Co-Cap Stewart. The First Minister has announced today more humanitarian aid for Ukraine, more medical supplies to be sent there. What else do we have to do?
So you're quite correct. The Scottish Government did commit, I think it was about £4 million initially, but I think there probably will be more to come as the situation develops and the need is assessed. And of course, medical equipment is very important as well. I would like to sort of go back to the refugee status. So Scotland, I'm very proud of Scotland, has a great tradition, and Glasgow in particular, and Kelvin in particular, being the third diverse constituency in Scotland, has a great record of welcoming people from across the world. We showed that to Afghanis, we showed that to Syrians as well, and you know, we have mobilised so that we can show that to the Ukrainians as well.
Yeah, but we need to get them here, and the question is, how do we physically get them here?
Immigration is not devolved to Scotland, and that is a huge, huge frustration.
Well, it's not going to be devolved while this crisis is unfolding, so what are we going to do about it?
Well, I think that visas should be waived. I said that at the beginning. Visas should be absolutely waived. There is no, I mean, I was absolutely aghast and appalled at Priti Patel and the UK Home Office saying, oh, well, OK, you can come, but you have to be related. And then it turned out that that was, you know, what was the relation? And then you had to get a sponsor. I mean, it's putting hurdles in the way. This is buying directly into the hostile environment that is totally embedded by the UK government. And that is absolutely appalling and embarrassing across the world. We can do better than that. Waive the visas, let them come in. We've got people that are stepping up, we're mobilising, we can take them in and we can look after them.